Bees Golf Studio presents Tip It Out Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon, Blake, and Noah.
All right, guys, welcome back. Time we've been waiting for. It's basically Christmas for us. March Madness is here. A bunch is already happening. First off, March Madness not in the basketball world. The Players' Championship ended this weekend with Scottie Scheffler back-to-back, not only tournaments, back-to-back weeks, but also the first player to ever repeat at the Players' Championship. Guys, initial thoughts on that? Big 64, I believe, from him on the final round. What do you guys take home from that?
Solid 64 with a hole out, too, which was huge.
I think that got him going.
So the thing I saw is, so Scotty was however many back he was going into Sunday, and then his grandma shows up to the course, and that just flipped the switch, bro.
I did not know that.
Grammy's on the grass, and he's throwing darts per always and just burying putts. Dude, that mallet putter's it for him too. That's
somebody said it was last week was the first week he used a mallet. I thought he messed with the mallet at the end of last year.
He did at the end of last year
before, yeah.
But
did he not play in a tournament or something? Because everybody's like, this is the first time he's ever used it.
I think he used it in a tournament. I'm pretty sure.
That's what I thought too. I could have sworn, but everybody said like it must be that like Mandela effect. They're trying to say that
I don't know. He's
pretty low, never at the cornucopia.
Just the mishits of putts don't roll off as line as much. So it's just a cheat code for him, I think, in that sense.
Mallet putters are so much easier for just the average golfer, and I mean it would be the same for a guy who's just looking to be more consistent.
At
the tour level, but
already have a pure stroke. You kind of catch her off the toe every now and then or whatever. Just rolls offline just a tad. So,
but no, I think my main takeaway was what's that?
I was just gonna say, too bad he's not struggling a little bit. Maybe I've got to see him go to the arm lock and join the arm lock gang.
Join the gang.
I don't think he'd ever put himself like that. He'd have to shave his beard and wear some joggers to do that.
That's the other thing I saw too was that the last 3 tournaments that he's played in and he's had a beard, he's won.
Yeah.
What I saw is all of his wins.
He looks like a man.
All of his wins come in like a 2-month period. Between May 12th, like years or whatever. But no, my main takeaway was Wyndham Clark's just brutal lip out on 18.
That was disgusting. Double pump step in and doesn't fall.
That's like that Swaggy P meme that went viral where he throws it up at the buzzer, turns around like this, and it just sees brick in the background.
Also, though, like just Xander choking, that's kind of a story we're getting used to. And then, honestly, maybe my main takeaway was Rory just doesn't have it. He's lost right now. He's not good enough to win. He can't win right now.
It's the
something has to change.
It's the big numbers though. That's what it is. I saw a stat and I think it's his kryptonite, but it's also his superpower. It's how aggressive he is. I saw some stat that in the last 13 years he is the most aggressive. As far as I think they took the stat on par 5s going for it in 2, and he goes for it in the last 13 years like 78.2% of the time.
No way.
And now this year it's like 85% he's gone for par 5s and 2. And obviously, I did see a stat too on 16 at Sawgrass. When laying up, average score to par or average score on that hole was 5.1. When going for it, it was like 4 point something or even 3. I don't know what that stat was, but I know laying up it was right around par, if not over par. With that being said, it's the big numbers again. Rory had 15 birdies, I think they said, through, was it 2 rounds?
Dang.
Or something like that. Record.
Probably shot 700 in the first round.
He basically had the most birdies through like the first 2 rounds, and had the record was like 21 or 25. He was like 5 or 10 off, or I think he was at 21. Record was 25 going into Sunday. I think that's what it was. I could be wrong. Somebody, if we had a ton of people watching this, they could tell me I'm wrong. But anyway, he was like 4 away from the record with like so many holes to go, and he was in like 23rd place, like just so far on the leaderboard because he just makes.
Well, he kept hitting those water balls, and like that was the other crazy thing was Hovland and Jordan being like, dude, how do you say you saw it pass the red line on that one water? Did you see that controversy that they had during that? It was just a whole bunch of controversy, and then Jordan kind of was like, I don't know, dude, whatever you saw, but then like got real talkative about it. So I don't know.
After the round, he was quoted saying like he was just listening to what Hovland and Rory had to say, and then that the way I took it was that he said, yeah, I mean, I don't really tell. I mean, that seems like it's about right. And I think at the end he said that he just came over to check and make sure that he wasn't doing anything that was going to cause him a penalty, not going over there to check if he's going to
and say if he was incorrect. I didn't see that.
If it was the right drop, and he said him and the rules official talked about it, they agreed on it, so he knew it was fine and went on and about his business. I think they have a relationship where they know, like, even if Rory was trying to take advantage of something right there, like, I think they gave him the benefit of the doubt. I think they all have that relationship that, you know, he's not going to do that. But Blake and I, a little rough, not too rough, but we were really chasing that back-to-back ourselves on our one and done. Both picked Scheffler last week to win. You took Xander, I took Brian Harman, and
I was really pumped that Brian missed that putt on 18. I was pretty jacked, even though he's my little rider. But
let's just mention the fact to all of our viewers, you know, all crazy number of them, but let's just mention the fact that Brendan did not get his pick in on time.
He did not.
Even have counted.
We have some controversy ourselves on that. There's some controversy ourselves. But the fact of the matter is he didn't tee off. I understand some stipulations on some rules, but I consider this betting. And when you bet, as long as he doesn't tee off, you're fine. Didn't change anything, you know. Life happens. It's all I'm going to say.
It is tough.
But yes, I did get lucky there. But yeah, I still had to take a good pick. I mean, my first initial reaction after the tournament ended last week, the Arnold Palmer, I'm like, I'm taking JT all the way. And then a couple days later, I'm like, I'm stuck between Hideki and Harman. Ended up going Harman. Glad I didn't take JT. Then I wouldn't have mattered.
Well, Hideki wouldn't have been a bad pick, though, either.
No, I picked him for Greta. No, he did pretty well there. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I think what was kind of crazy, and I think we've talked about this, or I brought it up every podcast. I love watching tournaments where somebody other than one guy's got a chance to win it down the stretch on some tough holes, right? You know, Scottie going par on 17, 18. You know, I don't think it's talked about enough. You know, think about to go make par on 17 and 18. Wyndham making birdie on 16, 17. Even that shot he hit in there on 16. You know, Xander, that shot he hit on 17. It's the putt.
How about the shots that Wyndham just hit down the stretch? 16, that look at Eagle. 17, just saying, I'm going to go right at this and see what happens. And he hit one of the best shots of the day.
Yeah, you could say the same thing about Xander, though, too. He goes bogey, and then has a really good eagle chance on 16. Throws a dart right after Wyndham throws one on 17, and just couldn't find the fairway all day with the driver, and still had a decent shot that could have – it looked like halfway there. It looked like it was going to at least run the edge of it. So, I mean – he had every chance to down the run. He just couldn't find the face of the planet with the big stick.
I mean, he hit the driver really well until the two bogeys, actually. But
he was in the left rough a lot.
The putter hurt him on 17. That was a big putt. You know, I look back, and I was actually talking with a coworker today about it. It was kind of weird to see, you know, Scottie goes out and puts out a number. So everybody's chasing that number. Brian Harman's mistake on 16. I didn't see him on his tee shot, but ultimately had to make like an 8-footer for par, had like a 50-footer for birdie, and then goes in, you know, decent shot on 17, decent shot on 18, couldn't get it done there. But then you look at Xander, right? Hole 16 makes the birdie he needs to make. 17 hits the shot he needs to hit, misses a short like little 6-footer. He loses it on 17 basically because he couldn't get it done on 18. And then you go back, Wyndham gets it done on 16, gets it done on 17, and then just falls short on 18. So each one had their hole, in the last 3 holes where they were able to not capitalize, which was kind of cool to see. But one thing I kept, and maybe it was because I was paying attention to Brian Harman this week because he was my pick, but I don't think there was enough conversation about how hard that shot has to be as a lefty that doesn't hit a lot of cuts and isn't long. Like, think about, like, it's easy for those right-handers that, like a JT that can play that big old hook. He's way right.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, unless he goes crazy hook on it like he did last year, like, it's going to be fine. You got all those guys that basically start away from the water and bringing it back towards it to where if they bail out, they're fine. Well, you got Brian Harman who's got to start it over the water with a guy that's probably below average on driver distance. So having to hit that draw, and he ended up in the same place each time, hitting into that mulch there. But I don't think as a lefty I would want to hit that shot without being able to cut the ball. Like, I think that was tougher on a lefty than it was a right-handed player there. I don't know if you guys thought that at all, but
I mean, I guess I don't really think about that a whole lot. Those guys are pretty dang good. I mean, Wyndham hit a long iron off the tee.
Yeah.
Which I didn't
long,
hate
though.
that. He is long.
He is long. I've just been thinking, like, when I'm playing out there, it's just like visually, like, what shot, what's the correct shot you're supposed to hit in this scenario, right? What does this shot call for? And I think just last couple of weeks I've been thinking that when I'm playing. So I think as I was watching some of the players this week, it was kind of the same thing as far as, like, you look most of the time, and I think, was it Xander or who was it? It was one of the top guys, and I think it was either Thursday, Friday, so I can't remember who it was. But the announcer's just like, he's never in trouble because he always hits, it was JT, I think. He always hits the right shot, right? Whatever the shot calls for, he's hitting it. He's not trying to hit a cut into where you can't miss left when the pin's left, right? He's aiming down the center, trying to hit a draw in there. And I think that takes some real, just determination in convincing to do that. And it's just kind of cool to see those guys do that.
Yeah.
When we're hitting back pins everywhere.
Completely agree.
Anything else? Any shocks on the flip side as far as guys that are still playing bad? I know we touched on Rory a little bit, but
I mean, Joel Damon, however the hell you want to say it, he finally kind of had a turnaround, shot 74 in the first round, and then brings it back around. I think he had a top 20 finish. I mean, T11, I think it looks like. Yeah, I mean, nice to see him kind of starting to roll back again. But other than that, I mean, Lugbid, we talked about him last week. He had a good week.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wasn't able to do the fantasy update, but I was looking at my favorited guys that are on my team, and I got first place, 8th place, 16th, 19th, and 35th this week. So, I mean, guys like Ludwig Oberg, which I think, did he have a bad round 3? I think that's what it was. No, he was pretty consistent throughout the week. Oh, no, it was round 2. Round 2 shot 1 over, and still finished 14, kind of like Harman shooting even par, and then 3 rounds shooting 19 under. But, yeah, it's good to see some of those guys. I know Noah's rooting for JT. Every time we think it's there coming back, it kind of seems to take one step back.
Yeah.
But hopefully we will see some more JT and everything going. You guys have anything else on golf this week, or any golf?
No. We're gonna get ready to transition. I'll kind of go over what my headline is. The 11 more part of my headline is someone in the crowds this weekend was like, "Congrats, Scottie, on the #1 player. You just got 11 more years, bro." So that kind of killed me to catch up to Tiger. And then the ended 10-year drought to get the Huskers into the March Madness tournament, which is freaking awesome. I still remember when we played Baylor 10 years ago, and it's pretty heartbreaking, but love to see us turn this around and keep this program rolling in the right direction. So
yeah. And I think that is a perfect transition there, Blake. So obviously, if you've seen some of our social media, we've hinted at a very special guest. I know these guys are just as excited as I am, and hopefully our guest is just as excited to be on it. I know it's a big week coming up for him. Noah, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest this week?
All right, guys. So now coming on, we got Cale Jacobsen, our very own Husker basketball player. Everybody say hi to Cale.
What's up, bro?
Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, before we grill him too much, we'll give him a little proper introduction here. So he is from Nebraska, actually. Went to a small town here. Ashland Greenwood is where he went to high school. Over his time in high school, he got one conference tournament championship, one state tournament championship. Overall, 77-25 record. Was first team All Nebraska. And then at Ashland Greenwood, he had a career high 43 points. I think Kearney Catholic, is that?
Yeah.
Is that what the game was? Got number 2 in career points, number 1 in career assists, number 3 in career rebounds, number 1 in career steals, number 1 in career free throws made, number 2 in field goal and 3-point field goal percentage, or made field goals, 3-point field goals made. So that's a little background on Cale there.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks again. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Seems like a pretty stud. Let's touch on that Kearney Catholic thing. You got a pretty big smile there. Was it pretty good to have that against Kearney Catholic there?
No, it was that was our state semifinal my senior year, so it's kind of a big moment. And it was at PBA, and I wasn't committed to Nebraska at the time, but then to do it at PBA, obviously looking back, was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a cool day.
I didn't know if that smile was. I know the whole, public versus private up there in Nebraska. I did go to a Catholic school here in Kansas, so I can't say everything, but I didn't know if that smile was because it was against Kearney Catholic, a little private school payback or something. So
yeah, more just the moment.
All right. So I guess since we were talking about that being at PBA in Nebraska, let's start with asking you why you chose Nebraska and kind of what Fred was like during recruitment, kind of what they did for you, kind of what he does for other guys as well, and just kind of what that whole ordeal is like.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet, obviously. When you get to campus, it's kind of hard to say no, just with all the resources, with everything that they have, the experience the staff has, right, just everything that they've been through. I had a couple low major Division I offers, and I visited and just didn't love it, didn't fall in love with any place. And then I came to Nebraska pretty late, and they had a spot open as a walk-on, and I just kind of like I said, just it's hard to say no when you get in and you see everything, and it was a risk, but I think just the way that I felt that I could change my body, my basketball game, learning from those guys and competing against what's now an NCAA tournament team, I just feel like that was the best thing for my career. And just, getting to know Coach Hoiberg, just like a great guy. That's what he looks like on the sideline, I think. But, that's just genuine. That's who he is. Nothing but positive things to say about him. Obviously, his X's and O's are elite. He's one of the best in the country. But he truly is, he just cares about his guys. He's just a genuine coach. And I'm very grateful for our relationship. So.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome.
I guess my biggest thing with that too is especially with you saying the being a local dude. We've had a ton of local talent, just within the state of Nebraska, and for some reason it's hard for us to try to keep those guys committed early on. Like you said, with having that walk-on opportunity and trying to develop into it, it's nice seeing that we can actually get some local talent.
Yeah,
just buy in early on.
For sure. And it's been cool with the Sam Greasels and the other side. Alex obviously didn't get him out of high school. But to get him, the transfer portal is huge now. It's not going anywhere. So to then get those guys on the second or third go around, I think it's good for the program and I think that we'll continue to probably see that quite a bit. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna touch up on this real quick, Cal. I mean, obviously you can't speak for anybody else, but back to kind of being a Nebraska guy, we see a lot in football recruiting. A pitch being, this kid was Nebraska fan growing up. They saw the national championships, like their dad or whatever, was a huge Nebraska fan. Translated to them. What's and speaking of not like missing out on some in-state talent, what do you see with other people that chose to go somewhere else? Like what do you think kind of pushed them away from Nebraska, or what did they see somewhere else and not choosing Nebraska? If you know.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is like just speak like from some people is just you want to experience something a little bit. And Nebraska hasn't always been known for winning basketball games, right? Like just if we're being honest, like we've made the tournament.
Spot on.
Yeah,
but I think just the recent success is much more appealing. Obviously, having a guy like Coach Hoiberg at the helm, I think, is a helpful thing. Just to what he's done, NBA wise, everything that like is on his resume. But like just winning, competing at the highest level, like that's what people want to do, I think. And so it's just now to be able to say like, hey, we're a tournament team, we're right there. Like I think we're pretty confident we can make a run no matter who we came up against.
Heck yes, love to hear that.
But just it's just cool. Playing meaningful basketball in March is something everybody talks about. And when you get to do that, it's I feel like it's just going to be easier and easier to recruit to this place, which is it's pretty exciting. It's a cool thing.
It's super exciting.
Yeah. So staying in line with that, especially like you Nebraska guys, and I know sometimes it happens when it's Nebraska to non-Nebraska, but do you guys ever like really talk to each other a lot about recruiting? Like I know you and Isaac Trout, who plays for Creighton now, played together. He transferred from Virginia. Then you got guys like John Tonji went from Colorado State to Missouri. Latrell Whitesell Jr. went from Long Beach State to Alabama. Like, did you text any of those guys? Did you kind of try to recruit them a little bit to Nebraska? Do you guys still talk to each other?
Yeah, I think that's definitely it's a thing, but it's also just as athletes, like you want the other guy to do what's best for him, and you kind of understand. Like obviously, I wanted all those guys to come to Nebraska, but if they felt that there was a better opportunity, hopefully we see him in March, right? Like that's just you want to compete.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And like Isaac specifically, we had a close enough friendship where like there wasn't even like nothing had to be really said. He knew that I wanted what was best for him. We still talk every day. Like we're still best friends. But I'm happy for him. He's loving it. But it's just like there's just kind of that like the level of respect toward it. Like just we want you to do what's best because everybody's kind of in that same boat throughout the recruiting process.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna actually touch on my headline here and give these two boys up top a little shock to the system. So, got some interesting news today from a guy very close to Cale, and he says that Cale and his brother were big Creighton fans growing up.
Oh, he dirty.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I wasn't going to bring that up in my
J-Sker, huh?
Uh-oh. I think last
think
podcast, Blake, you said J-Skers are the worst. So.
God,
I'm not
the worst.
I can't root for Creighton anymore. It's gone.
Yeah,
It's out of
I was
me.
gonna ask, is that ever gonna come back, or is it kind of my alma mater now? So you gotta.
Yeah, I think I'm Nebraska all the way. I mean, when you've been through it, like you've fought with these dudes, there's just that level of respect and loyalty, and like these are my guys, and I just a ton of respect for like Coach Hoiberg. Like I said earlier, like be hard to root against him just with everything that he's done, how good of a dude he is.
For sure, that is good to hear. All right, well,
that's kind of funny.
Rolling.
Alex Shockey, the golfer that we had on from Iowa, was a
Husker fan.
Creighton or Nebraska? He was a Husker fan, and now
he's a Nebraska football fan.
He's full blown Iowa. So
I did a Zoom one time, like pretty recently after I committed, and I looked behind me, and the whole Zoom I had, there was like a Creighton picture behind me.
It's probably a good look. Dougie D or what?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Dougie McBucket is not a bad role model to have.
It's a hard guy to not root for. Yeah.
I mean, I had a Chicago Bulls jersey of his.
Me too.
Yeah.
Had to.
All right, guys, let's keep going. We were talking about Fred a little bit, or we've been talking about Fred. Obviously, he's he's doing great. Kind of getting this program moving in the right direction. But can you give us a little behind the scenes on kind of what his practices are like and kind of, what makes him stand out from other coaches that you hear about or have been around? And then what stands out about our facilities, like, and like, I don't know what stands out about the facilities.
Yeah. I think just first with Coach Hoiberg, there's definitely some NBA to him still. You could tell it. He played for 10 whatever years, and he coached and was in the front office for however long. So it's a lot. Like, we do some load management stuff. We track that every day. But it's just, I don't know. He sticks to that schedule. Like, it's pretty consistent. We know what we're gonna do. But then we're gonna hit the things that we need to hit, and so we're going to be pretty efficient with our time. But like, when things need to be covered, we're going to cover them. And so there's lots of film, right? Just making sure we get mental reps. And he's just like, I don't know. My favorite days of practice are when he gets his whiteboard out and he starts running his ATOs, and it's just like, good luck. Like, you're not stopping him. Like, when he gets his basketball brain working, like, you just watch all the shots start falling in. And it just seems like when he draws something up, it goes in like 25% more often. It's just, you're going to get a good look. But it's just cool to see and learn from how his brain works, how he sees the game. Because it's different than anybody else I'd ever been around. And I think that, just going forward, that's just something that I'll be able to learn from. Just seeing the way that he looks at basketball, both offensively and defensively. He gets a lot of credit for his offense, but I think you've seen this year especially, there's just been growth tremendously on the defensive end. Like, that starts at the top. It's not a player thing, but that comes down, and then obviously the players have to buy in.
But you see it in Sam too, especially.
Yeah.
Just the defensive mindset that Sam has is insane, and how just little things, you just all of a sudden see this dude just sprinting from the baseline.
Hard plug.
Yeah, just picking a freaking play. The end of the run last year was huge. He helped us so much on at least looking and hoping to have a chance to make it. And then this year, our game against Illinois, he was in for a ton of minutes just trying to stop him. It was awesome to see. And it's also cool to see if Sam had like 6 more inches,
he'd be like his dad.
He's elite.
Yeah. It's fun to watch Sam. I brought it up when we were watching you guys play Indiana on Friday. I was watching with my dad and my brother, and I was like, man, if I'm a high school coach right now, everybody, obviously Casey takes the the media's attention, right? He makes the big plays, but guys that know basketball, watch basketball, can understand what's truly going on. And you see a guy like Sam, and I'm like, man, if I'm a high school basketball coach, I'm taking 5 of those Sams. Obviously you're not going to say 5 to, you're not going to say no to 5 Caseys either, but 5 Sams you can teach 5 Sams. You can't teach how to shoot the ball like Casey with looking away from the basket by the time it goes in, and ISOing a 6'3" guy and 3 seconds left, which I'm going to touch on real quick. Got a little TV time there at the end of the half of the Indiana game, I think, Cale, or in case they came down the other end after hitting that 3. And you got pretty excited there, and I don't want to be jumping in front of Noah, but what was the vibe after that 3 at least,
I think it was excited. The vibe from, we're just, I don't want to say I'm surprised when he does it, but you're just consistently amazed. It's just like, wow, right. That's how we react. And that play was funny. We drew something up to get him downhill. He was supposed to go downhill. And coach asked, he's like, which hand do you want to go? And Casey says right. And then he turns around. And me and Casey have gotten pretty close this year. And he turns to me, he said right, turns to me, he says, so I can step back. Bro. I knew that one was coming, but stuff like that. He's
okay,
just
but
crazy.
Is he not the weirdest lefty you've ever seen? I feel like most lefties love shooting going to their left, but that dude will not pull up going to his left.
We always joke.
Always goes right.
His left arm, they made it in a lab in Japan. If it goes up with his left hand, it's going in, and it's amazing. He'll go backwards from half court. He throws it off walls. the things you guys see is just a quarter of what we get to see every day.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
So
amazing.
I'll ask the question later because I want to touch on this run real quick, and this can be super quick. But I think Josiah was quoted something that Khalil Ware said during that play. Did you see that quote, Cale? Or
Yeah.
I'm sure Josiah told you, but I don't want to misquote it exactly. But Khalil said something like, "Oh shit, he's about to do something crazy here, or step back." It's just something
like
to that
he's
effect.
gonna make it or something.
During the play, he's just watching. He goes, "Oh shit, it's an ISO. He's gonna do something stupid here," and then Casey obviously does something stupid. But
Yeah.
man,
Stupid
gotta be
great.
fun to watch. That's gotta
Stupid
be-
great.
One quick to touch on that too, since we're on it. What's the craziest you touched on the backwards left off walls? What's the craziest play you've seen Casey do then at practice or just in general anywhere? Like, what's the craziest sequence?
I don't know. He started just making it was too easy for him. So he would like throw it from like 3/4 court and he had to bounce it in. So he would, and it's just like it probably takes him 2 or 3 tries and then he gets close and then he won't leave till he gets it. And like now he'll just launch one and it's like, oh, that's way short. And then it bounces in and it's like, okay, that was on purpose. Like that wasn't just a freak accident. And he won't even watch it. He was like, that's good. And just walk away.
Oh man,
That's awesome.
that's got to be fun playing. That's got to get the vibes going and just
It's
in
awesome.
general happy guy to play with.
Yeah.
I'm sure. While we keep talking about kind of guys on the team and kind of what makes this year's team so special, one of my favorite guys. I think I've told these guys before, but I think maybe my favorite player this year is Juwan Gary. He kind of appears just to be kind of the guy that kind of makes everything go, like defensively, kind of energy wise. What makes him so special, in your opinion? Like, how's his like work ethic, kind of behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Juwan is just his mindset. He comes into every game thinking nobody can score on him, and just walking in, like he knows that, and so that's just the way that he approaches things. He's a dog. Fred, we say that, people say that all the time, but like that's how he is all the time. That's not just him on game days or whatever. And then when he gets some shots to fall, like we saw the Michigan, I think maybe, where he was 4 or 7 from 3 and had like 25. And like what he's doing on the defensive end when that starts to click too, like that's pretty scary. But yeah, like you said, he can kind of be the straw that stirs the drink a little bit when he can get a steal dunk or a block shot off the backboard, and just really get us out in transition. Because that's usually where Casey gets his first one, is in some sort of broken play or like a transition 3, and that can kind of get us all going, both offensively and defensively.
For sure.
For sure. What was our dunk of the year? Was that Juwan's poster over Akpara in the
I think
Ohio
it
State game?
had to be.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's had a couple though back to back, like right around there though, like couple like putbacks and just a bunch of different stuff that was just
mean.
Just
mean. He does some crazy things too.
I guess if you really want to highlight something special that he did though, nobody ever wins in Kansas State, and the rebounding performance that he put up at Kansas State.
He have 17 or something like that?
That was ridiculous.
He had like 8.
How many did he have?
Like offensive rebounds were just
crazy.
Insane.
Yeah, he changed the game in the second half. The first possession, I think he had 2 or 3, and that just really set the tone for the way the second half went. Because we shot, I think it was like 35% that day, and we won.
It was pretty low scoring.
Yeah, but like just the way that he created extra possessions, and then he guarded Kluma that game too, who's probably averaging 15, and held him to, I would guess, one of the season lows. But
yeah. Being a Kansas guy, that was fun to watch. Growing up with a bunch of K-State fans, watching us have some little bragging rights there. Not often do we get to go back to some Big 12 rivals and stuff. So a little bit of bragging rights.
Yeah, that's a hard place to play too. That place is tough.
Yeah, I think there's been a bunch of people quoted, saying that it is actually one of the tougher places, kind of underrated, I guess I should say, on it all. So
it's a weird gym.
It is.
It's like straight up.
It's just there's
I was
no
at
one.
That game and it was.
I almost went, but there was
almost all 3.
There was there's no one that sits along the court.
Yeah,
it's just like a blocked off. I don't know. It's just odd.
Brendan's wife wouldn't let him go to that game. I just want to point that out.
Ima.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about kind of this year and kind of how this team has progressed, kind of started last year. What, in your opinion, I know this is only your second year, so you were just there for last year, but what kind of changed culturally? Have you got a sense for? I want to highlight guys, Sam Griesel, Emmanuel Bandamel. I feel like those two guys were kind of guys to start that change a lot. Can you talk about those guys at all? Or
Yeah, I mean those two, and then you can throw Derek in, right? Just that group of seniors. I think it was those three maybe last year. But they just really obviously I wasn't there the year that they struggled a little bit with all that talent, but they just set the tone from June when we all showed up of this is how things they've all been in college basketball forever. And they were like, this is the way that things go. They all had tournament experience. And it was just you could feel it from them, but then also from the staff, I think. I don't know, obviously I wasn't there in the locker room the year before, but there was just a really big emphasis on this is what Nebraska basketball is. And we made that pretty known right away. We had weekly meetings, just where we would just sit down and kind of discuss what culture is, all the important things to hit on, and then what we wanted it to look like, right? Because if it's a coach's culture, that's one thing, but when you can really make it fit to your players, that's when everybody buys in. And so that was kind of the message, and then obviously that's different every year. So there's the core values that stay the same, but then it kind of molds to the guys in the locker room. And I just think it's been cool to see just the growth in that area, even from the day one that I walked on campus to now finishing up year two. There's still strides being made, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. Just because people care, and I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of people that love Nebraska and love to play basketball and love to play together. And I think we're just going to continue to see the trend going upward. So.
Heck yeah, it gets me jacked up. I'm freaking ball.
Quick, Cale. Do you think, I know you mentioned that, the players kind of mold to it and everything, and then the coach's culture, but do you think more so and obviously you haven't been there all of Fred's tenure, but do you think Fred kind of recruited his guys and found his guys, or do you think they kind of adapted to what he was wanting to coach, or a little bit of both?
I'm sure it was a little bit of both. I think he had talked about it a lot. He just decided we're going to get experience and we're going to get guys that have been in the tournament. And so especially not this offseason, but the last one, we brought in Juwan, who had played. We brought in Sam, who had played in the tournament. Derek had been in the tournament, who was obviously there already. Emmanuel was NIT maybe, hadn't made it to the big one. But you could just see that there was a focus on we're going to bring in winners. And he wanted to find that. And then obviously when you have winners, that's how you win, is you bring in winners. And he kind of knew that. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is the focus and the emphasis on we're going to go get these winners. And it maybe wasn't your offensive Fred Hoiberg team that you think of when you think of Coach Hoiberg. But just, and he was willing to then, what a good coach does, he molded that group into a team that guards and guarded and guarded and guarded. And that's how we were able to win games and give ourselves a chance down the stretch. Obviously didn't end up making the tournament, but we were there for a while. We were close. But it was just, I think a combination of he brought in winners and then he adapted a little bit to fit the group of winners that he had.
Yeah. And obviously Rank, I believe he played, he won a tournament game at Bradley, didn't he?
They were close.
Or did he just play?
Yeah.
But he played in the tournament. So another guy that, got that experience, which I think, I think is really going to help you guys come this week here. You got, like you said, winners, and you got guys that have been there. We talked a little bit that on golf, guys that have been there, it's easier to repeat that, Some guys get in awe when they've never been there before, and I think he's built that to where this week should be pretty fun.
Yeah, we're really excited. Super excited.
Touching on this week for you guys, and another player that is a little older. I know he doesn't get talked about probably enough for everything that he brings. And I know I've heard some people, not me, I think maybe Brendan said it once, might throw you under the bus here, but Bryce Williams. I know Brendan maybe said he kind of looks a little lazy sometimes and other stuff like that.
It's changed.
But
It's changed. I
but
will say my
but
thoughts changed.
I've seen him, or I've heard him, I guess, talk in like interviews and stuff. And I've seen a lot of opinions about how he seems like really smart basketball wise. And he's kind of that quieter kind of demeanor. His face never changes. What do you see from him and his kind of his leadership kind of behind the scenes, I guess, since he's kind of quieter in nature?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the thing with Bryce is he's going to be the same no matter what. And then obviously now, like, he's our starting point guard and has been for the last couple months, and that just requires a level of like you have to be vocal as a starting point guard. And so we've just seen, I don't want to say
It's
a different
changed.
Bryce, but yeah, he's had to grow a little bit into that role. And I think especially the last month, like you've really seen him start to get comfortable. He hits 4 threes in the first half of Indiana because they were going on their ball screens. Like that's elite stuff. Bryce has all the tools in the world. And I think he's only like just beginning to reach what he can do. But the part about Bryce is there's not going to be a moment that's too big for him because he is just consistent and he's a stud, right? He's a baller. He's got all the skills. And so when we get right to March, like he hasn't been there, but he's not going to be scared. He's not going to be phased by any moment. He's just solid. And it's just been cool to see him grow as a point guard, which is something I don't think he had ever done really. And as a playmaker, as a leader, I think it just, especially from the inside, like you've been able to see just that change kind of in him, which is just is cool. He doesn't know how good he can be. Like he has all the tools, all the talent, and I think he's just beginning.
When he gets hot, he's fun. I mean, it's the same thing. My favorite thing is when Rank gets going and he starts freaking just burning it. Oh my goodness, dude! The court just gets so much bigger.
Yep.
And just things change, especially since, I mean, offense runs through him. It's so fun. And like going back with Bryce, I mean, early on in the season, like you guys are playing really well. I think you guys are blowing out expectations through the roof early on, which was huge. That Oregon State, I mean, going back and looking at it, like was like jacked. Like this is a huge game. We need to win this game, and then we just smoke them. And it's like, yeah, that was. And then the freaking I can't even say the name of the team. They're in the tournament. DeQuince or however you say it. Duquesne. Yeah, whatever the hell it is.
Duquesne.
Yeah, Duquesne.
Fact check Blake again.
Publeno.
Like last year, last week.
Like Publeno, who didn't make it.
Hey, we should ask
Rick Poblano.
We should ask Cale who he thinks Rick Poblano is.
He's a coach.
It's a mistake. Chill. But that win like was like one of those. It's like, okay, like this will be the real test now. And we go and we played well, or y'all played well, however you want to look at it. Like it's just like all that goes through. But then you look at it the more and more with Bryce actually becoming like looking at him to be an on-court leader and like yelling for the ball, like, yo, like give me the ball, like let's go, and like moving it. He's not more like he's very slow getting up the court sometimes, and now it's like he's like in it, like let's go, let's get the ball moving, let's like try to find some stuff. When people are face guarding Casey, like he's taking charge and he's trying to do something with it. It's fun. I'm so excited for Friday. I'm like, I want to sleep until Friday at 5 and just be ready. Like,
dude, if we're gonna talk about ranked mass, dude, I laugh every time that dude hits like the slowest step back deep threes you've ever seen in your life.
Dude, he's hit some of the biggest step backs of the year, though.
He has. No, I'm not saying it's bad,
Purdue.
but like, dude, it's just this like slow motion, and it's awesome though.
I was gonna say that it does look like Rank's moving in slow motion, but he gets it done. But I didn't want to say it because I guarantee he moves faster than I probably do.
I want to know.
Slower, but
I want to know how many mops and buckets walk behind him at practice every single day.
Oh my goodness!
Because that dude's so wet.
Better hope he doesn't hit the floor. 5-minute timeout. Towels out there.
Golly, you see it because there's a one white jersey that you guys are wearing, and I'm like,
you always see the kids with the catapult for all of those.
Oh, dude, he just
underneath.
Yeah,
drenches.
Dude, he always looks like he got attacked by like raccoons. Just got scratches all over his arms, redness. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I love that man though.
I want to touch on this real quick, Cal. I don't know if you've talked to Rank about this, but I think it was after Purdue. either the Husker media team or the Big Ten media team released something, a little short documentary, so to speak, on Rank, because he had a had a good game against Purdue. And they were talking about how I believe both his parents played korfball. Has he talked to you about korfball?
I've not heard of korfball.
What the heck is that?
I believe that's what it's called. Ask Rank about korfball. I believe in this documentary, and you're going to end up asking Rank, and he's going to be like, the fuck is that? But I'm 99% positive both his parents played korfball, and you'll have to look it up on your phone or whatever. But basically, and I think he played it until he saw an NBA game and was like, I'm going to play that sport. But it's basically basketball, but like old school basketball, like way back when I think basketball used to be like there was 5 offensive, 5 defensive. When you crossed that court, the others went back. So it's similar to that. But then it's a pole with a tiny hoop and no backboard.
Okay.
And you can't step. I think there's like a perimeter, like you can't get inside 6 feet or something. So they're shooting this basketball with no backboard and this hard rim, and they just have to make it. And I think you can ask
like
Rank, but I think
there's
a little
like no
bit of
dribbling.
his touch has come a little bit from korfball. So ask him sometime about korfball.
I
Maybe he'll
believe
take you overseas and play it. And let me defend myself on Bryce real quick. He had a couple bad games. We got our butts beat by Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and I think he was a little bit down on himself. And there was a couple plays where he picks up 3/4 court, reaches, gets blown by when we didn't need to be picking up quarter court. I was an armchair quarterback, obviously. I did have, I believe, a triple-double in high school once, but I can't
chill out.
I had 10-10-10. I had 10-10-10 one game.
And how was that?
But I think I averaged like 6.2 in high school.
Was that against the School of the Blind and the Deaf, or was it the 8th grade girls team?
No, we were scrimmaging the wheelchair basketball team.
He was playing korfball or whatever the hell it was.
All right,
okay, fine. It was NBA 2K13.
Yeah.
Let's move into this week, fellas, shall we? Kind of what are you guys as a team? I know it's pretty new to you still, but I guess you can go back to, we've kind of already touched about it, but kind of what was it like, kind of going as far as Nebraska's ever been in the Big Ten tournament, and then what are you guys as a team kind of most excited for about March Madness, and then kind of just how do you feel about where you were put in the bracket and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, every win from the Big Ten tournament on was history for Nebraska. And so that's not something we talk about a ton, but like when you really, and especially like, hopefully it's in a month and a half, but when you look back on it, like whatever happens in the next however many days, like this was a special year for Nebraska. Obviously we don't want it to end, right? Like we want to go get 2 this weekend, 2 next weekend, and then make it to wherever, it's Phoenix maybe. But I just think that
maybe.
Yeah, Phoenix, like maybe that's where it's at. I think that's
it is Phoenix.
It is Phoenix.
Who cares? You're climbing on a ladder. Let's go.
He doesn't book the tickets. They got
That's right. No, but it's just been, it's been cool to look at it. I mean, the broad picture, but then also to look in the locker room and be like, this is a group of guys that really cares. There's a level of pride for Nebraska that you don't always see in a guy. Like there's a lot of first year guys that maybe shouldn't or don't need to care for Nebraska, but like they're fully bought in. And so just getting to see, them make history here, getting to be a part of it, obviously, it's been pretty sweet. Like I said, hoping to keep that thing rolling a little bit.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, I'm not going to be able to sleep.
Touch on something real quick. It's so much fun to watch you guys. You talked about like Hoiberg being an offensive kind of guy. And we're not normally his offensive type team that you think of, which we put on a pretty good show offensively. I mean, as you can see against Indiana, but it's so fun to watch you guys play defense, right? Double team on the post. And I think Noah and I have, thrown Noah and I under the bus, but I think we've touched a little bit on early on in the season, we were confused on why we were giving up baseline because we were kind of against that for a little bit. But then watching the magic kind of work, I think early on there's probably just a little bit of just getting used to playing like that. And I think towards the end of the season, I don't even flinch watching you guys give up baseline because you can see the double getting ready to come, and the amount of guys that can't pass out of that double or see that double right there in the short corner and decide, you know what, I'm going to go there anyway and try to throw something across to the opposite wing. And, there's Sam or Bryce or Juwan right there ready to just pick it off. So it is fun to watch you guys defensively really play. I think that's kind of an art form that we don't get to see too often anymore.
There's been, even going to the beginning of the year, we've had to talk a lot about there's getting blown by to the baseline, and then there's being in the picture when your guy drives baseline. And when you get blown by, it's really hard for us. That's where things get tough because then you take the double team out of it and it's one-on-one again. But there's been a lot of growth, and we call it escorting, but we're going to escort him to our low man. And then that's where we can be really aggressive in that double team, and that's where we get the steals. So
I love that word, actually.
That's because you got arrested for it a couple times.
Hey.
Sorry, Haley, if you're listening.
Quiet down over there.
I mean, he's already what we talked about last week. He's already gay.
Yeah.
It's a couple weeks ago.
Likes those guys caked up.
A little meat on the bone.
All right, guys. What else do you have about March Madness, guys? Anything you wanna ask about March Madness?
Well, I'll just touch on real quick. Not really with March Madness, but I'll touch on my little headline there. I think Cale knows what that is. He doesn't know what it is off the top of his head, but that is his career Big Ten 3-point percentage there, or at least this season's Big Ten tournament 3-point percentage. So obviously, not getting a lot of minutes and stuff, but being able to get in against that Indiana game and it also going for that 3-point record, which I'm sure you guys weren't thinking about at all, but everybody else at home was counting them up and getting you on late there. What was it like just getting in and in that atmosphere like that, being able to hit a three so early on in your career?
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. We had no idea how many threes we were at. We hit 12 in the first half apparently, which is just nuts.
Insane.
But it was pretty cool. Obviously the Target Center is a pretty sweet atmosphere. Pretty awesome arena. But overall it was just cool. My dad and my older brother were there. My high school coach was there.
I was there.
He was there. So just being able to do it.
TV time.
I did actually. I got on TV there. I actually got it.
Yeah, you were texting us.
I was actually taking a video of Casey's three when he hit it at halftime before he did it.
Yeah,
I'll take
got
part
that
in
one.
And Cale would like to know that we did go crazy when he hit that three at the end of the game. We were all texting in our group chat.
I think I and I quote just said Cale with all the exclamation. But
that was cool. It was exciting.
Yeah, how about this one though from the Big Ten tournament? So obviously playing Illinois, we get our base into a little foul trouble. How about I'm gonna say his name wrong. How about Matar just freaking squaring a guy up, looking him dead in the face and hitting a step back jizzle right?
He went between the
right
legs though, I think too.
He went between cross.
Dude,
and we all kind of, he likes to get into his bag a little bit in practice sometimes. And so they kind of fed it to him on the post and he bobbled a little bit and he ended up at the 3-point line. And then I don't know who it was, but somebody cut through the middle, down to the rim, and it was kind of maybe go get it.
Yeah, well, shot clock winding down.
6 on the clock, and so he went between, crossed it over, and it was cash. He was nothing but net, and he comes over and he just says KD. Looked a little bit like KD. I'll give you that.
Awesome.
Oh
man.
Just that's so good.
So as being on the bench for that right there, did you guys go pretty crazy? Are we gonna get in everybody has their role, and I'm not taking anything away from anything you've done this year, but are we gonna get some bench mob Cale? This March
You know what's
Madness?
crazy? The video of CJ doing the little jump around, that one?
Yeah.
That was mine. He took it from me. I do that in practice all the time, and he just pulled it out on the sideline. Cameron happened to be right there, but yeah, that was my thing.
Those leg tats help though.
That's true. It wouldn't look the same if I was.
It wouldn't look the same.
With bringing CJ up too, I don't think there's enough talked about him. I'm sure there's some that touch on it, but he needs a little bit more credit, I believe. His not only physical transformation that he's done, over the past 2 or so years. I remember they touched on it early last year, like lost like 30 pounds or something right before the season, or 40 pounds. But also just kind of knowing his role a little bit. He's kind of been in and out, playing, and just he's really bought in as a team player. And
one more year
guys, that
he seems like he loves Nebraska.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, and we've talked about it with a couple guys, but just a guy that's just fully bought in. Like you just said, like he loves Nebraska, he loves Coach, and he's just willing to do whatever. And a lot of times that's knocking out a couple trey bombs in big moments. But he's been a stud for us. Definitely.
Honestly hurt for that guy, because he was definitely, in my opinion, at least the front runner for Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year after the Wisconsin game, and kind of went on a little slump, but no, that dude's been huge this year.
Yeah,
Love watching that.
Yeah, that
Speaking of awards,
Wisconsin game was insane.
How gay is co-coach of the year? Speaking of awards,
that's what I was about to say. Hoiberg doesn't care. He doesn't care.
No, but still, he should get that outright.
But I mean, and they gave more props. I watched the clips of when they got released, and they were giving more props to Matt Payne around the whole year and everything, because they're like, oh, not often do you see a guy that's projected to win the conference, get the tournament or whatever. And like, how do you not give a guy the outright conference coach of the year when he takes a projected 12 seed in the tournament or in the conference and bring him to a 3 seed? And if it wasn't a bunch of zebras or 8 versus 5, as Jawan said, we're talking maybe even making it to the Big Ten championship. So
that was such a sly little.
We were all we're all in the locker room, and we all kind of like heard it, and we were like, maybe we were thinking it, but I don't know if you should say that.
Oh man!
I mean, hell, I think the only thing on Matt Painter's clipboard is having 4 guys stand around and throw it into Zach Edey. So it can't be that hard to coach. I think I could coach that team to the NCAA tournament. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah, give it into Edey and either kick it out to Fletcher or Smith.
And Mason
down
Gillis.
a 3, or Gillis, or even Jones. But they got some shooters this year.
They do, but they always go cold in the tournament.
How do you guys game plan for a team like that? Obviously, they're running through Edey. And you got to stop him. He's going to get his just because of his size and his volume that he puts out. But they do have a good team centered around Zach Edey, and I think they're recruiting another 7-9 guy.
Yeah.
Coming next year. But what is kind of, and you don't have to spill anything, but what's kind of the mindset going into that?
I think just everybody, when you go against specifically Zach Edey, your goal is to just push him 2 feet outside of where he wants it, right? So if you can get him to step off the block, or you can get him to step off the charge circle, and you just make it a little bit tougher, makes it harder for him, obviously, to shoot his unguardable hook shot. And then if you can't get every offensive rebound if he's 2 steps away from the rim instead of just 1.
Yeah.
But then, like you guys said, like they have 4 guys shooting 40% from 3. So like when we trap the posts, like we did, it's important to get that catch pushed off the block, and then be really active, because he's big enough that he just sees over us. But if you can make him a little uncomfortable, make a pass go from like in the shooting pocket, right? If they have to catch it here and shoot it, that buys your defense an extra second to now close out. So just making things really hard for them. Obviously, they're going to get their buckets. He's going to get a putback dunk probably 4 times a game, like he's just going to. But just making the simple things for him, make him a little more difficult. That's just kind of what we talked about going in.
And I mean, nice. I saw that Obviously, our game against them, we beat them by 18. They're not good, but no, Mason Gillis, he played really well against us. Made a bunch of threes, kind of kept them in the game. Did you guys? And it kind of just seemed like we were just gonna, let Mason get his as long as we stop Edie, because historically, I can't remember what it was, but like he was only averaging like 12 or 13 in Pinnacle Bank like the last few years. Is that kind of all Fred's game plan was? Just kind of stop Edie, let the other guys get theirs, and just.
I don't think you wanted Edie to score or Gillis to score 20 like he did.
Yeah.
He was definitely a little. They do a really good job of spacing the floor though, and they did a little more ball screen stuff against us. And when even when Edie rolls down the rim, like you got to meet him high. And then they stretched us out, which is tough. And Gillis would get either to the top of the key or to the corner. And Smith averages 7 assists a game, which 5 maybe are to Edie, but he's a heck of a playmaker too. And so they have pieces. Yeah. But it was, he probably got going a little too much. We talked about it every time out. Like someone's got to just run him off the line, make him shoot a tough 2. But they do a good job of spacing the floor. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country for a reason. But
For sure.
So speaking of Purdue or something, like what do you guys see with your draw? Or unless Blake has something before it, but
No, go ahead.
what did you guys kind of like with there's obviously, storylines that we don't need to get into, but initially speaking, how do we feel about that draw we got? Maybe going through Texas A&M, you got to play at Houston.
Yep.
What do you guys see out of that?
Rink said it yesterday. He said we're playing the basketball team, not the athletic director. And I think that's not even something we talk about as a group.
Absolutely. The women's side's different, but the men's side's not.
It's interesting. But yeah, they are the best offensive rebounding team in the country.
Yeah.
And so that's just going to be huge for us. We're in rotation a lot. We're just going to have to make plays. Juwan and Josiah, obviously Rink. I think that's going to kind of be where the battle. He always says that's where the game starts. When that shot goes up, the game starts. And so that'll kind of be the test to look for. They do a lot of similar things to us defensively with the no middle. And so it'll just be, it'll be a battle. Who does it? Who's willing to be disciplined? Who plays better? And then once that shot goes up, we really, really got to lock in and keep them off the glass. So, what we like, obviously you're in the tournament. You're going to play somebody good. You're going to get a good basketball team. But then, you get Houston or Lindenwood. Probably
You're probably getting Houston if you win that game.
Probably getting Houston.
Nothing crazy.
Who's obviously another elite defensive team. But we like where we're at. You just one game at a time at this point in the year.
Yeah,
we don't even talk about Houston until you get past Friday. So we'll be, lots of focus on rebounding and just making simple plays. Nobody has to be a hero. We have a good enough group of guys to put up against anybody that we feel pretty good about. So
Jacked.
That
so
game's
pumped.
interesting for sure. Buzz Williams, a hell of a coach.
Yep.
So watching him and obviously I don't want the game to be close at all. I want us to win by 1,000.
Statement.
But if coming down, the last, maybe right at the under 12 timeout in the second half, maybe seeing some Buzz Williams and Fred Hoiberg X and O's, those two battling out would be kind of fun to watch. Some game plan switch.
Yeah.
That I know we're all excited. You're obviously excited. But let's go. Go Big Red.
Let's go.
For
sure.
What's this, I guess if we're still talking about this, what's this week look like for you guys? Kind of just like playing like travel plans and all that kind of stuff was.
I believe we'll leave Wednesday, and then we'll get a practice at the FedEx Forum Thursday. So we'll practice Wednesday, hit the road, and then play Friday, obviously. So we obviously had practice today, watched a lot of film just to kind of see, like we haven't seen them. When you play a Big Ten team, right, like you see their film against other Big Ten teams, you're a little more familiar. But our coaches we had tons of film. All their games are up on our huddle. And so it's just locking in, trying to figure out ways to attack them. And then also, it's just going to come down to who does what they do better. And that's what we talk about a lot. So
Yeah, I want to kind of highlight that. I know we can't really get too much into game plans and all that kind of stuff, but obviously they don't shoot the three very well, and they like to give up a lot of threes. But also, we can sometimes struggle rebounding, and they're the best offensive rebounding team in the country. I think I saw. So is that kind of what wherever it gets stressed is rebounding and kind of
yeah, and I think they have 3 guards that are elite at getting downhill. But they played themselves into the tournament because they shot 40% from 3 in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
And so they're shooting it as well as they have the whole year. So it's just going to be really important early to kind of, we just say, shut them off. Like, don't let them get hot, and just make things tough. They get to the free throw line, or probably top 30 in the country. I might be wrong there, but up there. But yeah, they're elite downhill drivers, and then that opens up kick out opportunities. So keep them out of the lane, just really compete on the ball, and then make things tough from the 3-point line. And then, like I said, once that shot goes up, gotta secure the rebound and run. So
sure.
Heck yeah.
You guys got anything else?
What's the pump up song that we're listening to before every game?
See, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I listen to country music
Okay.
all the time.
I did too.
So what
I'm a
is
country
it?
guy too.
What is it and who is it?
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen. Pick your song. I don't care.
I'm surprised. What's the one you sent me, Blake? You remember that one?
Oh God. No, we're not getting into this. We're not giving Noah any more.
Yeah, good looking. Yeah.
It was
Dallas,
yeah.
It was funny.
It's a funny song. Look it up. It's completely and utterly inappropriate. It's just funny as heck.
You start vibing, and then he starts singing.
And then you start listening to the words, and you're like, "Bro, what?"
But
we don't need to get into it.
No, we don't. Well, I guess my last thing, Cale, would be I think my dad made sure. I told him you were coming on, and he wanted me to make sure, let you know that he was pretty upset. He's a Minden Whippet, grew up in Minden, so I believe he said you guys beat Minden to get to the state championship one of those years, or whatever, the state tournament one of those years. So he told me to just bring that up to you and make sure he's a little upset with you on that. So
my bad. Tell him I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Now, was that the same year we put up 43 against Kearney Catholic? Yeah,
sure
you don't care.
There we go. Sick. Well, thanks for coming on, Drew.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to follow you for sure. We have to have you back and just touch base when you're wearing that natty hat on, and we got all the boys celebrating.
let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on. Super excited to get you on here and get some different insights. We all talk about it, how good everybody is, and each and that, and being able to see, and get some word inside and out. It's awesome to hear everything, and good luck this week. Just have fun with it. Hopefully everybody enjoys the moment. Not only just trying to win, but just enjoying everything that's going on. It's an awesome experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, all I'll say is good luck, and I mean I'll give you a shout out. Everybody go follow our boy Cale. We'll post them on all our socials and get them going, but kind of blow them up and then just hit them up.
Boom.
Tell them good luck.
Boom. Yeah, blow them up. He says.
Maybe get Cole to make a little highlight intro video for him.
Yeah,
to get them going. But yeah, thanks again, man. Appreciate it. Go Big Red.
Appreciate you guys having me. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.